Okay, let's dive in. We're embarking on a deep dive into Zambia today, guided by this stack of source material you shared.
Right.
And straight away, this stuff paints a really vivid picture. It feels like, you know, Africa's best kept secret. Spectacular, but maybe under the radar a bit.
Definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
The sources talk about majestic waterfalls, these huge, unspoiled national parks.
Yeah, and a rich cultural heritage, warm people. It sounds like a really authentic African adventure.
It does.
So our mission here is to kind of sift through this, pull out the crucial insights, the really fascinating bits, and give you a shortcut to understanding what makes Zambia so compelling.
And what jumps out right away, looking at these sources, is how broad they are. It's not just nature. No, they bring in the culture, the practical side of visiting, too.
Yeah.
It creates this picture of a destination that feels, well, different, less commercialized, maybe.
Yeah, that comes across. More focused on that raw wilderness and authentic escape.
Exactly. Not just, another safari destination. It feels distinct.
It really does. Okay, so starting this journey through the material, where else can we begin but the icon?
Has to be Victoria Falls, which the sources say is known locally as Muzio Atunya.
Which means the smoke that thunders. Wow. Even the name just evokes that power they describe.
It really does. And it's not just local fame, is it? It's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
And a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's serious recognition.
Huge deal. And it's right there on the border, Zambia and Zimbabwe.
The scale mentioned in the material is, well, it's pretty amazing. Twice the height of Niagara Falls and stretching over 1.7 kilometers wide.
You can almost feel the spray just reading about it, can't you?
Totally. And what's interesting is the experience from the Zambian side, from Livingstone Town. The sources really highlight that.
Yeah, not just the viewpoints, which are apparently breathtaking, but all the activities, the adrenaline stuff.
Right, that really stands out. Bungee jumping, the whitewater rafting on the Zambezi.
It's famous rafting, yeah.
It sounds like you're not just looking at the falls, you're right in it, feeling that energy. Intense.
Exactly what the material suggests. It's an active engagement with that power.
Okay, so moving on from that incredible site, the sources spend a lot of time on Zambia's national parks, its wildlife reputation.
Absolutely. And they focus on a few key parks, each with its own kind of flavor.
Let's start with South Luangwa. This one has a particular claim to fame, doesn't it, according to the sources?
It certainly does. South Luangwa is, well, famous for having one of the highest concentrations of leopards in Africa.
Leopards. Okay, that's a big draw. They're notoriously hard to see.
Exactly. So your chances there are significantly higher, which is pretty special.
And the material also flags its history. Something about walking safaris.
Yes. It's known as the birthplace of the walking safari. That's a key point.
Why is that so significant? Just walking instead of driving.
It's a totally different experience. You're, on foot at the pace of the animals. You notice the small things, tracks, sounds, plants. It's much more immersive.
I can imagine. Really feel like part of the landscape.
Definitely. And the wildlife list for South Luangwa in these sources is impressive. Elephants, lions, hippos, crocs, giraffes.
Plus over 400 bird species. That indicates a really healthy ecosystem.
Very healthy. Then there's the Lower Zambezi National Park. Different vibe here, located right on the Zambezi River.
Okay, so Riverside. The material talks about it being more tranquil.
Yeah, tranquility seems key, and the types of safaris reflect that. Things like canoe safaris.
Oh, nice. Gliding along the water.
Exactly. Fishing trips, too. And the game viewing is described as quite exclusive.
Exclusive, meaning less crowded.
That seems to be the main point highlighted in the sources. You might have stretches of the river or bush all to yourself. A very intimate feel.
That sounds incredibly appealing, actually, avoiding the crowds.
Big plus for many people.
Yeah.
Then there's Kafue National Park. The scale of this one is what jumps out from the reading.
Right, Zambia's oldest and largest park. Huge area, 22,400 square kilometers.
Massive. And that size leads to incredible diversity.
The sources mention cheetahs, elephants, and some rare antelopes. Sitatunga.
Yes, the Fitatunga. That's a great detail. They're semi-aquatic, adapted to swamps, really elusive.
So spotting one would be quite something.
A real highlight. And for birders, Kafue is apparently amazing, over 500 species mentioned.
Wow, 500, okay. So, just to recap the parks from the sources, South Luangwa is the leopard hotspot and walking safari origin. Lower Zambezi offers that exclusive, tranquil riverside experience, especially canoeing.
Right.
And Kafue is about Sheer scale, diversity, and the chance for rare sightings like sitatunga and cheetahs.
You've got it. They really show the range Zambia offers for wildlife.
But it's not all about the rivers and parks, is it? The material also brings in Lake Kariba.
Yeah, Lake Kariba. It's interesting because it's man-made, one of the world's largest.
Man-made, okay. But it offers a natural kind of escape.
Totally. It sounds like a peaceful retreat. A nice contrast to the, adrenaline of the falls or the intensity of safari.
The sources mention things like houseboat cruises. Sounds relaxing.
Houseboats, fishing, just enjoying the sunsets over that huge expanse of water. They suggest it's great for families, or even honeymooners.
Adds another layer to the trip, beyond just safari.
Shows there's variety. And speaking of layers, the culture is another big aspect the sources cover.
Right, it's not just wildlife viewing. You can connect with the local culture, too.
Definitely. The material talks about visiting tribal villages, seeing traditional ceremonies.
They specifically mention one, the Kumboka ceremony.
Yes, the Kumboka of the Lozi people. It sounds pretty spectacular, this annual event where the king travels by barge between palaces because of the floodwaters.
Wow, a whole procession on water. That sounds incredible.
A real expression of heritage. And then there are the everyday cultural experiences, like the markets.
Vibrant markets, yeah. Selling crafts, fabrics, local food. A good way to connect.
And the sources also touch on the cities, like Lusaka, the capital, and Livingstone. They mention a blend there.
A blend of traditional and modern.
Seems so. Yeah. Museums, local performances, even urban street art. It all adds up to this unique Zambian identity described in the material.
So a real depth there if you look for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've covered the falls, the parks, the lake, the culture. Now, the practical stuff. Planning a trip. What did the sources say?
They give some good pointers. Getting there seems pretty standard. Major international airports in Lusaka and Livingstone.
Kenneth Konda and Harry Mwanga in Kumbula airports, right? Well connected internationally.
Yep. And then getting around inside Zambia, options are small charter flights. Probably the fastest way between remote areas.
Makes sense for the parks.
Or you can travel by road, which lets you see the country differently, I suppose.
Slower pace, yeah.
Yeah.
And booking things. Flights, accommodation.
Material says there's a good range available. You can book flights, places to stay from luxury lodges, right down to budget guest houses.
So options for different budgets.
Seems like it. Car rentals are possible, tour packages. The basic infrastructure is there.
That's reassuring for planning. The sources are also quite specific about the best time to visit.
Seems like it depends on what you want to do.
Exactly. 2 main seasons. The dry season, roughly May to October, is flagged as the best for safaris.
Why is that?
Animals gather around the remaining water sources, rivers, water holes. Makes them easier to find and see. Less vegetation cover, too.
Okay, so prime game viewing time.
Pretty much. Then the wet season, November to April. The landscape turns incredibly green and lush.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and it's apparently excellent for bird watching. Migratory birds arrive, others are in breeding plumage.
But there's a downside.
The sources caution that heavy rains can make some roads impassable and some camps might close. So trade-offs, depending on your priority.
Good to know. And finally, those essential little travel tips the material provides.
Yeah, the practical bits. Visas, apparently most people can get one on arrival or easily online as an e-visa.
Convenient.
Currency is the Zambian kwacha. And, importantly, English is the official language and widely spoken.
That makes things much easier for visitors. Definitely. Health-wise, the standard advice is given. Malaria prevention is recommended. Best to consult your doctor before traveling.
Standard but crucial. And connectivity. Phones, internet.
Seems okay. Local SIM cards are available, and you can generally find Wi-Fi in cities and most lodges. You won't be totally off-grid unless you want to be.
Okay, so pulling all of this together, the amazing falls, the distinct safari experiences, the culture, the practical details. Why does distilling this from your sources matter for you listening?
Well, the idea is to cut through the noise, right? To give you the core elements from this material without the overload. This dive highlights what defines Zambia, according to these sources. Victoria Falls is that massive anchor, the unique safari styles, walking, canoeing, that less crowded feel. The chance for real cultural interaction, and the practical points that show it's, well, doable.
It really paints Zambia based on this material as more than just another destination. It offers something specific, something authentic and untamed.
Yeah, it makes a strong case for a place that has that huge dramatic natural power, but also these surprisingly quiet, intimate moments.
So we've journeyed through the source's view of Zambia, from the thunder of Mosi Otunya and the unique character of each park, to the calm of Lake Kariba and the depth of the culture.
And looking at it all, what really comes through from the material is that contrast, isn't it? Immense natural forces alongside chances for genuine, quiet connection. Connection with nature, with culture. It positions Zambia as a land of, power and peace.
It really does. Which leads to a final thought. Based on everything these sources suggest about Zambia, a place seemingly committed to its wildness, to authentic experiences, here it is for you to think about. How might visiting a destination like that, one that maybe prioritizes raw nature and real interaction over, say, polished convenience, actually change how you see travel? How might it shift your connection with the world around you? Something to chew on from this deep dive.